Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, Ba'ishim Rakah Kodash, Barakathum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh Ba'ishim Yahushai, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well, and peace and salutations to Ya'akim out there pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the Brother Raya with another video, and this is going to be another video dealing with the fact that a nuclear war is inevitable and also a major part of prophecy, and nothing will happen to avert that prophecy from coming to its fulfillment. So to you Israelites out there that have an understanding of this truth, if you're in a lackadaisical or lukewarm spirit, you need to get out of it, because we're quickly coming into this time. You can see that the persecution is starting to come upon the truth, and we know that the mandatory implementation of the mark of the beast, which is the RFID/NFC microchip implant, follows the persecution. And then after that mandatory implementation, this nuclear holocaust, and you don't want to be caught out here when that nuclear fire gets kindled. But the first article I'll be reading from is on defense1.com, and the title reads, "A New Nuclear Deal? Start with New Start." Russia is ready to extend this critical treaty, but Trump isn't taking yes for an answer. 30 years after the end of the First Cold War, U.S.-Russian relations are strained and could worsen, which they will, if the only remaining treaty that verifiably caps the two nations' strategic arsenals, the 2010 New Strategic Arms Control Treaty, or New START, is allowed to expire 14 months from today. And this START treaty is futile, just like the INF, or the Intermediate Nuclear Forces Treaty that the U.S. left during the summer, is futile. As I said at the beginning of this video, this nuclear war is inevitable, and nothing will happen to stop it from coming to pass, because it's all the will of Yahweh Ba'ishim Yahushai. This is Isaiah 55 verse 11. "So shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth, out of the mouths of his prophets, chiefly GMS or Great Millstone, preaching that this nuclear war is quickly coming upon this world. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please," nuclear holocaust, "and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it." This is this third woe, which is quickly coming. As it states in Revelation 11 verse 14, the second woe, and woe means destruction, is past, speaking about World War II. And behold, the third woe, World War III, which will be nuclear, cometh quickly. And you may think to yourself, nobody in their right mind would initiate a nuclear war. This is all them just posturing for political gain. What you have to remember is that we're all just puppets of Yahweh Ba'ishim Yahushai. This is his movie, and we're just actors all playing our role. This is Proverbs 21 verse 1. "The king's heart, or his mind, is in the hand of Yahweh. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will." So when Yahweh Ba'ishim Yahushai is ready to initiate this nuclear war, he's going to put it on the spirits of these kings to push that button. So again, don't get your hopes up on these New START treaties, or these nuclear weapons proliferation bans, or anything like that. If you're an Israelite, you should be doing whatever you can to get into the good graces of Yahweh Ba'ishim Yahushai, so you can have a chance of being in that elect number and having that protective hedge over you from Yahweh Ba'ishim Yahushai once all this chaos erupts. Russian officials have repeatedly made it clear that they are prepared to extend New START by up to 5 years, which can be done by mutual agreement between both presidents and without further approval by the U.S. Senate or the Russian Duma. Earlier today, Russian President Vladimir Putin reiterated the message during a meeting with his military leaders, saying Russia is ready to extend the New START treaty immediately before the year's end and without any preconditions. On Tuesday, at the NATO summit in London, President Donald Trump acknowledged Moscow's stance. Russia wants to make a deal very much on arms control and nuclear, and that's smart, and so do we. We think it would be a good thing, Trump said. Yet Trump's team has so far failed to respond to Russian entreaties to begin talks on New START extension. The king's heart is in the hand of Yahweh. He moveth it whithersoever he will. On December 3rd, U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for International Security and Non-Proliferation, Christopher Ford, told a Senate committee that Russia does still remain in compliance with its New START obligations, but he said that the administration's decisions about the future of the treaty remains under consideration. And while you've got these different heads of state talking about re-extending these nuclear deals, at the same time, they're working on upgrading their nuclear arsenals. You had Russia that unveiled the hypersonic Avangard glider, as well as a new intercontinental ballistic missile called the Sarmat. And as we'll see in this other article on defensenews.com, nuclear weapons get small boost in budget deal. The U.S. is also working on upgrading its nuclear arsenal because, again, the king's heart is in the hand of the Most High. He moveth it whithersoever he will. The Most High is positioning both of these major nations and getting them ready to shoot nuclear missiles at each other, because the U.S. and Russia are going to be the two main nations going at it in this upcoming third woe. Nuclear weapons received a small boost in a new spending deal passed by Congress, with lawmakers largely leaving the agency in charge of America's warheads alone. Nuclear weapons programs under the National Nuclear Security Administration's purview came in at $12.457 billion, a small bump from the $12.408 billion requested for that account in the president's budget request. That figure represents an increase of $1.347 billion from the fiscal 2019 levels. Overall, NNSA's budget increased by $219 million over the president's budget request. The plus up should help the agency with bills caused by the 2-month continuing resolution, which hit at a time NNSA is attempting to balance priorities, fixing aged infrastructure, and filling a number of warhead modernization programs. I'm going to jump to the last paragraph in this article, which is really telling, showing you where the minds of these people are. The NDAA, or the National Defense Authorization Act, also does not include language initially sought by House Democrats that would bar the deployment of the W-76-2, a low-yield warhead for placement on submarine-launched ballistic missiles. And lately, there's been a lot of talks among the higher-ups in the U.S. government of deploying low-yield tactical nuclear weapons because they believe that in a future conflict, their limited use wouldn't lead to a larger nuclear war, which when you read between the lines is pretty much them saying we're more open to using these low-yield tactical nuclear weapons more often, which is complete madness. But when you understand these scriptures, you can see the method to the madness. It's the Most High working on the hearts or the minds of these heads of states, these kings, moving it whithersoever he will, positioning them towards bringing about this third woe. I'm going to get back into some scriptures. This is 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 6 through 7, whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished, the days of Noah, when the Most High punished the world for its wickedness by flooding it, and that's known as the first death. Verse 7, but the heavens and the earth, which are now, these present times we're living in, the last seconds of these last days, by the same word are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men, when the Most High is going to judge the earth again for its wickedness, not by water, but by the ultimate purifying agent this time, fire, that nuclear destruction, and this is known as the second death. Still in 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 11 to 12, seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, the current age, the current system of things run by Esau Edom, the so-called white man, which is much worse than the days of Noah. What manner of person ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness? What's the spirit you Israelites that have an understanding of this truth should be in? You should be doing whatever you can to get back into the good graces of your power, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, so you can have that protective hedge over you and be saved from these coming calamities. Looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of the Most High. If you're in the right spirit, you should be hastily hoping for this nuclear destruction to come to pass, however terrible it may seem in your mind, wherein the heavens, being on fire, shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. And what's going to melt those elements with fervent heat? Not volcanoes, but nuclear weapons. Man, in this truth, you hear some people talk about some crazy stuff, saying that all this destruction by fire is going to be from volcanoes. When you read these scriptures, they clearly don't sound like volcanoes. They sound like nuclear weapons. But hey, volcanoes will go off in that day. But to those people that think that this is talking about volcanoes, I can assure you that you're going to get hit with a nuclear missile instead. This is Joel chapter 2. I'm going to read verse 1 through 8. This is a personal favorite of mine. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Yahweh cometh, for it is nigh at hand. And those that are blowing the trumpet in Zion are the prophets of the Most High. Again, GMS, going out there on the highways and byways preaching this word, as well as putting up video epistles like this. Not only warning you Israelites, or you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans of what's to come, but you heathen nations as well. And what's to come is a day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of dark clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong, those nuclear weapons, there hath not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. And where it says there had not been ever the like, it's talking about how these nuclear weapons came about very recently, beginning with those atomic bombs during World War II. And where it says neither shall be any more after it. After this nuclear destruction takes place, there will not be another nuclear weapon made afterwards. They're all going to be shot during this third woe. A fire devoureth before them, that warhead causing that destruction, and behind them a flame burneth, the aftermath they leave behind. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them. The land is pristine and looks normal. You have cities and peoples and parks and animals, etc., etc. And behind them a desolate wilderness, that destruction they leave behind, where it turns the land into a wasteland, like that video game Fallout. Yeah, and nothing shall escape them. The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen so shall they run. Like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains shall they leap, like the noise of a flame of fire that devoured the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. And what you have to remember is that when the prophets saw these visions thousands of years ago, they didn't know what a nuclear-tipped ICBM was, so they had to describe it the best way they could with what they knew during their times as weapons of war, such as horses and horsemen and chariots, as well as flying swords, spears, and bows and arrows. Before their face the people shall be much pained. All faces shall gather blackness. They shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war, and they shall march every one on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. I've never heard of any volcanoes that march in ranks. Neither shall one thrust another. They shall walk every one in his path, and when they shall fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. Where it says, neither shall one thrust another, they shall walk every one in his path, that's referring to the spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, and the angels being on these missiles, guiding them to their destination. They will hit all their targets without any problems. And where it says, when they shall fall upon the sword and not be wounded, that sword are those anti-missile defense systems which will fail in that day, because the spirit's also going to be on them to fail. And as I said earlier in the video, Russia and the U.S. are going to be the two main players in this upcoming nuclear third woe. It's actually going to be Russia that's going to lead this nuclear destruction against the United States of America. This is Jeremiah 50 verse 9. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon, the United States of America, an assembly of great nations from the north country, that north country being Russia, and Russia is also known as Gog and the Medes in the scriptures, and that assembly of great nations is not only the allies of Russia, such as China, Iran, and North Korea, but also the allies of the U.S., which are going to turn against her in that day and ally themselves with Russia, such as the U.K., France, Germany, and these other NATO nations. And they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows, those nuclear-tipped ICBMs, shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. Back in Joel chapter 2, neither shall one thrust another. They shall walk every one in his path. The spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai is going to be on these missiles to reach their targets without any problems. And 200 million nuclear missiles are going to hit the United States of America, and it's going to turn it into the biblical lake of fire, and afterwards a desolate wasteland. I'm going to close it out in Isaiah 13, verse 19 through 20. And Babylon, the United States, the glory of kingdoms, that golden cup in the Most High's hand, that great city that made the whole earth drunken off its wines or its philosophies, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. And how did the Most High overthrow Sodom and Gomorrah? With fire and brimstone from the sky. And the Most High is going to overthrow this modern-day Sodom and Gomorrah with that modern fire and brimstone, those nuclear-tipped ICBMs. And when you go to Revelation chapter 11, verse 8, you'll see that besides being known as Babylon the Great in the scriptures, America is also known as spiritual Egypt and Sodom, showing a clear connection there. Verse 20, it shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation, neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. It's going to be a desolate wasteland that's going to stand as a memorial as to what a wicked kingdom looks like and how not to govern the earth. So with this video, I hope you sincere Akim are edified. Just keep strong and keep pushing this word. We're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathens, chiefly Esau, Edom. And as always, I'm going to say Abba Bal, Kwam Yasharala. Till next time, Shalom.